welcome everybody to the Confessional. This is episode 15 of the Confessional, a podcast where I interview amazing people from all walks of life and places. And tonight I have a real treat for you. But before we do that, let's get the boring intro stuff out of the way. If you've never heard of me before, my name is Alec the Cleric. I'm a Borderlands content creator, a YouTube editor, a podcaster, and an all-around funny dad who has no idea what he's doing when he plays games. But we have a lot of fun anyway. This is the Confessional. I'm very happy and excited to be here and do this show with you guys. If you want to learn more about the Confessional, make sure that you follow us on Twitter at ClericCast. You can also be a part of the show yourself. All you have to do is be here every Sunday evening, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will have our live guest on where you guys can ask questions here in the live chat over at twitch.tv/AlecTheCleric. If you're interested to support the show, make sure that you check out our Patreon. That is patreon.com/theconfessional. There you could support the show. You can also earn yourself some sweet rewards for your amazing support. Okay, enough of that boring intro stuff. Let's get right into the show. Joining me this week is somebody that I am absolutely honored and amazed to have on here. He is an incredibly talented voice actor, a streamer and content creator, a Broadway actor. This man has done it all, and I cannot wait to get to talk to him and pick his brain a little bit. Please join me in welcoming Major Attaway, also known as I Played Major. Major, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you? So happy to be in the space. Hello, beautiful people. How y'all doing? This is I Played Major, where I'm a major player. I also happen to be a player named Major, looking to be a major part of your day.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm happy to be here.
That intro just catches me every time. Can I just say that that is just perfection personified. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Well, for those who might be in the audience tonight and don't know who you are, why don't you give them just a quick snippet, a quick Cliff Notes version of who is Major Attaway and what do you do?
Oh, well, folks, I am a variety streamer in the sense of Twitch, but in Major's life, I am an actor, a voice actor, a Broadway actor, a singer, a jazz singer, and a teacher. I do some master classes as well. I have been doing musical theater and or something similar to it since I was 8 to 10 years old. And I spent 20 years doing local and professional theater in Texas until I got the chance to be cast as the standby, which is the backup to the Tony winner who played um, uh, the genie in Aladdin on Broadway. Sometimes I forget. And then and so I was his backup for a year, and then I got to take over that job. All the while obsessed with voiceover, obsessed with cartoons, obsessed with anime, and doing voiceover from 2013 up until now. And I got onto Twitch because I am the voice of Clay in Borderlands 3, and I thought, what better thing would it be for the smooth operator to be here playing the game with his fellow Vault Hunters. So, yeah, I am here for the long haul. I see some beautiful things in this space and in this world, and connecting it to all my convention visits and things like that. I'm really excited to take this ride, man. It's been a great couple years to get started.
Well, and it's been awesome to watch you too. Just obviously, the way that I got to know you was the same way that most people got to know you, which was as the voice of Clay in Borderlands. And the majority of my audience are Borderlands players or have at least played Borderlands 3 at the very least, so they will know who Clay is. But it's been really cool to watch you to kind of start this journey too with Twitch and being a Twitch streamer on top of everything else that you do. What kind of made you want to make that turn to and add Twitch to this extensive portfolio that you already got for yourself?
Well, in my free time growing up, I was an only child, and the best times that I had were spent with my cousins playing NBA Street, and things like that. But what I spent all of my time playing, was either Grand Theft Auto or Halo or Assassin's Creed or things like that. I was doing this anyway. Like
Yeah.
this is what, like, these hours that I spend on Twitch, I would have been sitting here. Like, you can see anyone who's friends with me on PlayStation or whatnot. Oh, Major's up playing games, whether or not he's on Twitch. Yes, like most times I'd rather be playing a video game than watching television, unless I'm, taking notes, watching an anime or something like that. So really, it was a moment of like clarity where it kind of just dawned on me. It's like, wow, post pandemic, the idea was you have to make money from home, period.
Oh yeah.
And I just lucked out that one of my favorite pastimes happens to be, $1 billion industry. Oh, it's like, oh well, lucky me.
Yeah.
Let's get started. And yeah, and I still, even now, like, I'm still waiting. I'm still saving to build the PC of my dreams. Right? There's still so many numbers and letter combinations that are practically a different language to me. Um, but even where I've gotten, I'm sitting now, I'm watching the stream on one laptop and I'm talking to you on another. That's miles ahead of where I started. Like,
Oh yeah.
I was here with a PlayStation camera and trying to balance my blue screen on my couch so that I could keep it aligned.
Oh, we all
And
started there, man. We all started
right,
there. Yeah.
right. Even that reflection alone is enough to say, like, I knew, like, this is such a purposeful thing, because I'm learning so much about myself, and it's made me more confident in my voiceover work as well. The way that I can talk to people here, it reminds me of the humanity of the people who will watch and play the games that I'm auditioning for. So it helps calm me down when I put pressure on myself to be great, when most of the people I meet here just want me to be present.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just want
It's
you to be
amazing.
you, right? It's like just want to meet you, that person. That's awesome, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, since you already brought it up, I mean, Land, since we already kind of talked about it a little bit, a lot of my audience is going to know you as the voice of Clay. You've obviously done a whole lot else, but just take a couple of seconds and indulge our Borderlands obsession. How did that come about where you got that role, and how did you kind of bring Clay to life? Because you can hear, obviously in how you portrayed Clay voice wise, you just put so much energy into that character that just jumps out at you when Clay is speaking. Like, Clay is you in a lot of ways, at least the way that I see him, and when I hear you stream and talk and everything, like, I hear that in the way that you portrayed him. So kind of walk us through the quick version of that process of how you became Clay and turned that character into your own.
I really like the way that you asked that question, because it's offered me a new perception all of a sudden. I would say what I'm just now realizing, the uniqueness of Clay in my voiceover career, is not only that what he represented meant quite a lot to me, Major the actor, but it was the first character that I voiced after being cast as the genie in Aladdin. In the sense of the first time that I had held the responsibility of that much work and then was given the opportunity to put it back into a video game, something that I, had been leading up to for so long. So, how I became Clay to start was I was cast as Galt, Trevor Galt in Battleborn.
Oh
You know,
yes.
yeah, the game that that rivaled Overwatch before it came out, which was crazy. But um, I was given a lot of responsibility in that game. I was the voice of the tutorial, so I taught you how to play it and all of that. That was huge for me. I was an unlockable character. So Papa Shotgun, the was his nickname as we were learning, as I was doing the lines and all of that stuff. So while I was extremely grateful to be in that game, I was genuinely disappointed that I wasn't cast in a Borderlands game,
Interesting.
because yeah, the reason that I put so much effort into those auditions, was because all of my theatrical friends who had already been in the voiceover world, people like Martha Harms, the voice of Maya, and my good old buddy Brick, Mr. Marcus M. Malden. They had helped me get into the Funimation space. So I wanted to move up into the video game space. As soon as I'd gotten a little taste of like Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, oh, yeah, because I voiced a Naval in Dragon Ball Z Kai Budokai 2. I'm not sure. Some one of the video games.
I gotcha.
And yeah, people like that character. Anyway, so that video game taste, I was like, oh, I want to be in video games more so than anime. Like, I'm saying that out loud for anyone who wants to hear it. Major likes to be video game characters more than anything else, I would say. So when I was cast, I was in Aladdin. I had just left the Broadway show to join the tour, and right before then, I had done a series of auditions for Clay, and it was special because they reached out and asked for me to audition for this character.
Wow.
Right? That was huge. That means they had already had me in mind.
Yeah.
And that was very humbling, thinking, oh, well, they had me in mind. They had Ice-T in mind for his role. They had Penn and Teller in mind. I was like, this is good. This feels good for where we're headed. And they gave me. They were like, he's a cowboy, but he is street smart, but not book smart. But it doesn't bother him, and all these different things to work with. And so, the visual of him, and I joke about this in streams all the time. I say that the visual reminded me of Will Smith in Wild Wild West.
Yes.
So that was the physicality in my head. The physicality of that was he can handle anything, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I went in physically with. So in the booth, they were like, we want it to be as cool as you are, Major, but we need him lighter. He doesn't look like you. So he has to sound like that. And I was like, yeah. So honestly, there was this saunter. When I recorded all of Clay's lines, I wouldn't let myself sit still.
That makes sense.
Right, I would stand up and I would shift the way that he physically shifts his hips. I would constantly make myself do that because I knew that if I didn't, I would sit and be heavy I would be more me because I wanted it to be me without the weight.
Gotcha.
So if I never felt my own weight in my body, then that's how I did it. So that's literally how I physically came up with his voice.
That is so cool. And just thinking back to, like, as you're saying this, like, I'm playing some of Clay's lines in my head and stuff, and you can hear that saunter in his voice, like, even from the very first line, the easy, I'm no fighter, like, just like you can hear that like sway in his voice. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing.
I wanted him to sound like he was on a horse. I wanted him to sound like he had this trot in his voice.
Yeah.
Like, like I'm like he's because he has to, because he's a con artist and all that stuff. So yes, thank you. It was fun. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, I could tell that you had a blast with that role. I could tell. That's amazing. So, and you've mentioned too that you've done anime and all of these different mediums as well within your portfolio. What would you say is the one that you are drawn to the most? Because, like, you have such a vast, you're in so many different fields here, like from Broadway to voiceover in anime, voiceover in games, all of that. Is there one that you look at and be like, you know what, that's the one that I really, really love the most that I've done?
I mean, so far it's the video games.
Yeah.
Because the video games are the only thing that I guess they feel like they receive the most honesty.
Ooh,
when it comes to the way people receive them.
that's interesting. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit? Because I've never heard it described that way, but I love that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I hear less about what games people hated growing up than about what they loved. Like in the general sense, when you talk about video games, the first thing people want to talk about are their favorite games. No one wants to talk about their, the game that sucks the most or the one they regretted buying, But in every other world that I'm in, there's a sway of opinion. It's not just gratitude, you know. Like even though it's basic, like I've done some TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in when I think about it in that sense, people react to whatever my character did as if that was me somehow, you know, which is not a bad thing. It's just it's funny. You know, if I play someone who is rude or unkind, then people will send me messages even jokingly saying, "Why were you so mean to that person?" You know. And so that to me that's still not you made it. You know, you got a
Mm-hmm.
job, you know. Or what did you learn on set working with the leads in that show? You know, it's an emotional reaction. Um and especially in the anime world,
Mm.
bro. I get it's like we're what's his name? Rodney Dangerfield. I
Oh
know
yeah.
some of us are not old enough to know who that is, but we get no respect in the anime world, bro.
No respect.
I
No
get no
respect.
respect. I get no respect on my paychecks. I get no respect on just the work itself. When people are like, I'm a voice actor. What do you do? I hand anime. Oh, I hate dubs. I'm like, I didn't ask. I did with respect, with respect, I was like, so you watch stuff you hate, or you just know you don't like it? And I'm like, either way, we don't have time for it. We don't have time for it. It's for two sets of people, right? I
Yeah.
was like, I literally watch both for different reasons, but so yes, to answer your question, it's the video games. You know, it's because what I want to create for people is there's one story that sticks with me, and it didn't even happen to me. Marcus M. Malden, I was, and this is actually what gave me the idea for a brick of clay or a piece of it. I was watching an interview with some Borderlands actors. You
Mm-hmm.
know, same thing y'all are doing now, Inception, crazy. And there was a woman who got on and talked about how she used to live in a neighborhood that was a little unsafe. And she would come home, and the nights that her spouse had to work late and she was alone, she would play Borderlands as Brick.
Really?
And literally playing as Brick made her feel safe in her own home because of his conviction of his power, and that he could punch people who were shooting. Something about that true statement made her feel safe. And I was like, that is something, I was like, that's going to live with her forever.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't even happen to me. And I was moved to tears at the time. And so I was like, oh, yeah, because it's interactive. You know, it's a little different than just watching a film that I'm in or watching a show or listening to me sing. If you press a button and then I respond to you, I was like, oh, that is it's a little stronger of a bond. So that is my answer. I have a jar of pickles, y'all.
Oh,
Stay
delicious.
hydrated. Um,
No, that's so cool,
yeah.
and that's such a genuine thing to hear too, because it is there's some kind of connection that we make with video games that is such a more personal, I guess is the word that I'm looking for, connection, and that we get invested in these characters even more so than characters we see on film or on stage or anywhere else. There's this personal connection. Like everybody has their favorites, and everybody has yeah, connection is the best word I can come up with because my brain is not a thesaurus for some reason. But but yeah, that is a beautiful story actually. That I love that. I absolutely
Man.
love that. Well, let's jump into a couple community questions. We got our first one coming in from BinMe3331. He would like to know if you could choose any video game world to live in, which one would you choose and why?
Oh my goodness. Hey Ben Me, how you doing, friend? Um, this is wild because I was just scrolling some social media thing that I didn't need to be looking at. And this question was asked, but about anime. I said, if you could live in any anime world of your choosing, but you had to remain a human, what would it be? And I was
Ooh,
like, danger. Um,
that makes it harder actually. A lot harder.
right? If we're talking a video game world and I can, free reign,
Free reign.
man, that's a hard question to answer. Um, But honestly, where I think I would have the most fun will probably be Spider-Man.
Ooh, okay,
The
okay.
way there's no other game that has made me want to physically be in the space as the most recent, Miles Morales and Spider-Man of like the idea, especially because I live in New York now.
I was gonna
So
say,
the idea of swinging past places that I see on a regular basis is too tantalizing. And he's the boss in that game, so I don't have to worry about the fear of getting destroyed too much. There's a what's the name? There's that prison that floats, so I'll be safe every now and again.
there you
So
go.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. I like that. I like that. And that's interesting because you do live in New York. I mean, seeing a video game kind of fantasy version of a place you actually physically live, that would be so surreal to me. But yeah,
Right.
you're absolutely right.
The idea that I traverse the city every day via train, I would just love to be on top of that train.
Yeah. I don't recommend it in real life, but yeah, go. We got another one coming in from Steam Gray. Steam would like to know what has been one of the most fun dubbing projects that you've ever worked on?
One of the most fun dubbing projects I've ever worked on. Um, there was one day. Now, mind you, I'll be honest. There are some things I wish I could do again, only because I've learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I kind of get to do when it comes to theater. Like, I can learn so much in 24 hours that two shows can be totally different.
Oh yeah, especially
But
when you're doing 6 shows a week, you know.
exactly. Um, I would say one of the most fun was one of the first times I kind of surprised myself stamina wise when it came to voice acting, and that was when we did a full anime movie in one day.
Wow.
And I did, I was there 6 hours, and that was the longest that I'd ever like focused on voice acting, and that was pretty amazing. That movie was Psychopass.
Oh.
I want to say it was Psychopass. I played Desmond Rudaganda, who was a half cyborg assassin, and yeah, I want to say that was the name of it. That was it. The Psychopass movie. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that
like
show.
2015 or something like that. So yeah, that was probably the most fun. Also, the second time, because I these two are kind of together because I think they happened in the same week. Was there's a very it's not very often that we get to be in the booth with other actors.
Mm,
We never see people. We just get to hear what they did or don't hear what they did because we're going first, and they get to hear
right.
what we did. But two or three times I have been called into Funimation and now Crunchyroll to do a group recording. Those are the best. I was actually just disappointed because not disappointed, a little bit. In my email, I got an audition for a video game audition that the parameters were that we were all have to fly to the same city to do a group recording, and I was like, oh my god, that's so exciting. That's almost like theater. Oh my god. But I'm busy and I can't do it. So I didn't bother auditioning for it because I was like, you know what? I was like, if I get it and then have to, like, the stress of having to disappoint, choosing who to disappoint will be too much for me. So
Yeah.
so yes, but the two that's my answer. Most exciting time was when I pushed past the limit I didn't know I had, and then the second time was when I got to be in the booth with other voice actors. So then the riffing, it was just crazy the way we
Oh
could
yeah.
play off of each other and finish each other's jokes and all that. It was a great day.
Well, especially with your background in theater, I mean that is, key to that job.
Yeah.
You've got to play off the people that are around you, and if you don't have chemistry with them, or if something goes wrong, the old saying is the show must go on, right? So like you got to be able to riff and kind of work with the people around you. So that's really cool that you were able to use those skills in what is typically a much more secluded, isolated profession in voice acting.
Right. Because usually we just have to riff off of, the vocal recording that we hear, which is another skill in itself, I guess. So.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. That is not just anybody could do that job. That's for sure. Uh, got another one here from Masherman 300. He would like
Yeah.
to know, who are some of your favorite Borderlands characters? And I'm gonna throw in the caveat, other than Clay,
Oh,
because
sure.
obviously.
Sure. Let's see. I would say Maya, because they're, of what I understand of the sirens, I enjoy the depth that there seems to be, with her character quite a bit. Krieg, everything about Krieg is cool to me. Even cooler that it's the same dude, you
Yep.
know, doing both voices. The way I geeked out on that man, it was so inappropriate. Like, and because I'm telling you, like, I don't think being starstruck is not necessarily an issue, And part of it, I think, is probably pride, because I'm like, I don't care who I know you think you are, all that crap. But there's extra joy when it surprises the hell out of me, and I was surprised because I ran into Jason, who voices Krieg, on the way to an audition, and we were passing each other. And also, it didn't help that, like, the night before, I just watched him on The Walking Dead.
Ah, yeah.
I just seen him on that at the same time, so I saw him and I was like, oh, hey, man, we have the same agent. I'm Major. You're probably going home because you just did this audition. It was woo, it was bad. It was
You had a
so
bit of a
bad.
fangirl moment going on there, huh?
I did. I was like, was I drooling? What the hell? I just got off tangent. What the hell was the question?
No, it was just if
Favorite
you had any other
characters.
favorite characters in Borderlands. Yeah.
Lord. Um, who else did I really enjoy? There's a guy. Oh, he's voiced by Gabe Kunda, who we all know and love. Bigsby, the dude he's like that side
Yes.
mission with the saxophone.
Yes.
And I really enjoy Zane,
Mm.
partially because I think he has a history with Clay that we don't know about. And so something about that is really intriguing to me. There's quite a few characters that that make me happy, just for different reasons. I mean, in Tina, Tiny Tina. I mean, you love Tina,
Hmm.
but I also love that little mushroom from the Wonderlands thing. That
Oh
makes me
yeah.
happy. Yeah.
Everybody loves that mushroom booty.
So so yeah, I would say those are good choices.
Good choices. Excellent choices. Excellent choices. Yeah, the next one from the community here, and then I've got a couple for you. But this one comes from Clever Carpun. They would like to know, if you had to choose to be the voice actor for any video game character, who would that be? So, like, who would be your dream role if you could land it?
This is not fair because I've said this before, but Kratos, God of War.
Oh,
Like that's a quick answer. But how about I give you something like a new one, just because, to force myself to be new. Um, well, this is not as new in my heart because I've known it for a while. But I would love to voice Shredder in a Ninja
oh,
Turtles. Yes,
okay,
because
okay.
James Avery is stuck in my head. Oh, you insolent turtles. Yeah, that is deep in my brain. Also, Nick Fury.
I could see that.
I'd be down. Avengers. Yeah, I'd be down for that.
I could see that. I could see that. They should have cast you in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
We should have. We should.
Yeah.
Somebody should get in touch with them on that. Cause
Hey, hey. Or really, like, there's honestly what I've been trying to manifest this for a minute is I want to voice I want them to introduce a new character into the MCU, and then when they add him into whatever cartoons that exist, then I'm him from get go,
that
from
would
the
be
start.
beautiful.
So that's kind of it, kind of like, well, because I know who is the voice of what did I just say? Nick Cannon, not Nick Cannon. Good God, Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Nick Fury. The voice of Nick Fury is an actor named Shy McBride, who is, he's well known if you know his face, but
Yeah.
large black man, and I'm a big fan of his. But he's not on the same radar level, I would say, as Kevin Michael Richardson or even Giancarlo Esposito or pre-summer, all that stuff. Anyway, but that's my answer to that, and I love that question because that also changes on a regular basis. Because well, not changes, but I guess the list gets longer because I would probably like to voice things on some games I haven't played yet, if that makes sense. Like I've never played a bass fishing game, but something tells me I would enjoy, voicing the host of the bass fishing competition.
That would
That's
be awesome. That would be the best fishing tournament that I had ever seen in my entire life. That's for sure. The best fishing tournament I'd ever seen. I would take that. So, beyond just your voiceover work and your stage work and everything like that, you also have a beautifully budding music career. And I would love to hear a little bit more about that and kind of how does that transfer or how does that meld, I guess, with your voice acting and your physical acting as well, taking on this career in music and specifically it's jazz music, correct? That you do?
good questions. Yes, yes. Before acting, I was a singer first. I started in the church, probably 5, 6 years old. By 8, I'm singing solos, but by 9 and 10, I had found theater. And wait, that's incorrect. I was doing plays at church, but by 9 and 10, I found um, the Texas Boys Choir.
Ah,
So by at age 10, I went into classical training for music, classical choral training. So we're learning how to sing songs phonetically. So we're singing in German and French and Latin and all this stuff. I can't speak any of them, but I can enunciate. Can pronounce them correctly when we have to sing them. So, but that also trained my musical ear. It taught me to blend and listen and important things when it comes to working with other people. And then into the musical theater and stuff like that. But what I found after all those things, by the time I got to high school, is when I finally found jazz, I would say. And so, even though I stayed in competitions for the classical stuff, and then competitions for musical theater, um, jazz is where my heart has landed. So much so that I've recognized that even the musicals that I auditioned for are mostly jazz based. Like Aladdin itself, the score of the Broadway show is unlike the movie. They've taken it back to the original version, which was jazz based. Because before Robin Williams joined the movie, the genie was a song and dance man, and he was going to be like Cab Calloway and do stuff like that with a big zoot suit and all that. So the shows that I love the most are either heartfelt, big choral, orchestral, over the top stuff, or grungy jazz musicals.
I gotcha.
Right. So the show that I have created that I am shopping all over everywhere is the Genie's Jukebox, which essentially I tell people it is Disney dipped in jazz, you know, and it is my love letter to the mouse, as well as a retelling of the crazy story of how I got to the Broadway stage from my couch in Fort Worth, Texas, and as well as just general musings on the character study that I, went through to play the genie. It's one of my favorite things to teach now as well. Like when I do like a master class, I will have the students play the genie and I'll play their Aladdin. but their only job is to create the genie's backstory, because there are things in the show there that aren't answered. We don't know how he became the genie. Outside of him telling us how long he's been in the lamp, that number can be changed. So I challenge them with those questions. I say, tell me how he got his powers, tell me how long he's been in the lamp, and then tell me what he would do with his freedom. And so they get to create that, and then but all of that is poured into my show, because the genie, in my opinion, has access to the entire Disney canon. There, based on his character, there's not a Disney song that he could sing that would be inappropriate, because he is the one guy who can do that, right?
Right.
So that is where the heart of it lies, is that we can do any Disney song of your liking. So honestly, I'm working on, there's this concept where I have a jukebox itself on stage, and then the audience gets to pick songs out of the jukebox, and I just happen to know them. So I'm working on a list of about 100 Disney songs that I need to know all the words to, and I'm about halfway through it.
Oh my God, that sounds like just the most daunting task I've ever heard in my life.
It's true.
Oh
But I
man.
know it's going to pay off. I believe it.
Oh no, I mean the show itself sounds incredible because I mean you're combining, your love and I think again, and this is the same thing that I see in a lot of the projects that you do. You've sunk a lot of yourself into this. You've got your love of Disney, your love of the stage, and then your love of the medium behind it in jazz. Like that's it's a beautiful combination of things that I really hope I get to see one day because that would be a show worth seeing. That's for sure. That's incredible. That's incredible. So what is the process like then for shopping something like that? Because obviously that's a whole nother world to a lot of us as far as musical theater and in show production even. Like that's another animal in and of itself. So like how do you take this concept, this beautiful concept that you've got, and ship that around and kind of give us a peek into that world?
Yeah, that's actually another learning curve that I'm on, and I'm grateful for this part of the journey as well. So what I've learned is the theater world, or the theater, the Disney theatrical space is separate from the Disney music concert space. No. So while I was, have access and was given permission to use this music that they use in the theatrical space to do a music show, there's no, we're going to walk you to this group of people so that we can keep pushing you this way. It is now, we've given you the okay, because we've signed off on what you can do, because you've worked for us and with us. Now go do your thing. Now I'm in a space where I get to craft it as much as I want it to look, and then push that to grow, to in a way get their attention, to get the attention of this other group. And so when I get the attention of this musical, or the music space, it's just a cherry on top of the sundae that, oh, he's already worked in the other Disney space, dedicated and, blood, sweat, and tears, and skin off of his toes.
Oh yeah.
All of that. And so now we can work with him here as well. That's essentially what is happening. And like, because of what I said, because of the cell of the concept being so broad, I have to, define those parameters, no matter how broad that concept is. And right now, that is what I'm working on. How to give my pitch in a minute and say, this is exactly what it is now, but also what it could be at the same time.
Right. Right. There's also that very interesting element of it being an interactive show, where, like you said, you would get the audience participation in basically picking the songs from your jukebox and everything. So that it touches on so many things that I can imagine coming up with your quote unquote elevator pitch for that can't really be an easy task.
Exactly. And see, I'm glad you pointed that out, because that that interactive element shifts it from being a Broadway style performance, which is big and showy, to automatically intimate. You know, if I'm trying to connect with a person, here, let me get into your mind about what your favorite Disney things are, and then have you pick. You know, that means I have to lower the number of people. Like it can't be. I can't let a room of 1,700 people, fight over who's going to pick these songs for me to sing. Like it's going to be safer and smarter if it's 150 to 200 people,
Yeah.
you know, so that I can in an hour show, or 90-minute show, whatever, I can look at 200 faces. I
Sure.
guarantee you. I can literally make a physical connection with that many people because I've tried. I've tried to see how many I could see in a 3-hour show when it's 1,700, and it's too many.
Yeah.
It's just too many. So yeah, all of those things are coming into play. And for me, my brain fights itself on the sense of branding, because while I'm trying to make it make sense, at the same time, it's like it doesn't matter. The idea works because the smaller it is, the more intimate the lamp idea works. And I'm like,
Okay, gotcha.
yes, but we have to define things. I'm a big picture guy, but details tend to elude me. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, and that's okay, right? Like you said, it's all a learning curve. It's all a learning curve, and I think maybe something that you hadn't even thought of though is that the beauty of this kind of more intimate setting, and or not setting, but interaction with the audience, like that's basically what you do on Twitch too. I mean, like you're taking another piece of yourself that is this Twitch element of like there can be 5 people in your chat, there can be 600 people in your chat, and chat's scrolling a mile a minute. And how do you make a connection with each one of those names that's popping up on your screen? And it's just there's just another piece of you in that show. I absolutely adore that.
yes,
It's
sir.
beautiful.
Yes, sir.
That's beautiful. All right, well, let's hit a couple more of these community questions while we got the time. Moonbase Tom would like to know, when you're recording lines for your voiceover, do you do this at a home setup or do you go to a studio?
Great question, sir. And we were talking about this before we got started. It's a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. Meaning, post pandemic, I did the work to become my own engineer when it comes to, doing a recording at home. So yes, I have the capabilities to do a full, recording session I keep pointing like you can see it, but behind this wall is the largest closet in my apartment.
There you
And
go.
so, yeah, so in there you have, and I should probably make like a TikTok or something about this. I'll do this.
Oh, you
Um,
definitely should. Definitely.
right. Because you know what? I forgot. I was supposed to make it when I made it, but I was in such a hurry that I didn't do the time lapse. See,
There you
look at
go.
that. Learning curve. But behind me in this wall, we have moving blankets that I have nailed to the wall, a couple layers. And also, I had like this fold out, I guess it's a bed, but it's more, like a cushion
Like a
that
futon
lays.
mattress or something kind of thing.
Yeah, that literally folds, and so
Gotcha.
that I like balled it up and shoved it up in the top of the closet, and got some of the egg crating things, or not egg crating, but the sound paneling, if you will, sound crating. Looks like egg crate, and all that is up along the top of it, and so yeah, I kept doing it and kept testing it to see if it was silent enough, and that's what works. So there are some studios that allow me to do full sessions from there. I've done full video game sessions. Um, I've done Pokemon sessions, in that. So like it works. But there are still some places who require me to go get on a train and go into the city to one of the places that they've approved, which is not a problem. Like Crunchyroll is one of those places. They still want it to sound a certain way, and so they need you in the space. Now, this could be if I upgrade my space again, which I, still plan to. Like even this mic here is a USB mic that will be replaced by the mic that's in the closet behind me once I upgrade the mic that's in the closet behind me.
Yeah.
So, um, So yeah, well maybe that'll change in the future, but the truth is I still feel very accomplished being able to do some rather than none.
For sure. For sure. No, and that's so cool too that you've got the capability of doing both, depending on the project, and having your own home studio too. I'm sure is very liberating in the sense of like, you know what, I can take on XYZ project that will allow me to work from home. I don't have to go all over the place to find a studio. You know, that's got to be a load off your mind as well as somebody that does this for a living. That's awesome. That is excellent. Well, I hope that gives you a glimpse there, Moonbase Tom. Next one is from Comfortably Dumb. Comfortably Dumb would like to know, is there a game that you constantly find yourself coming back to, regardless of how old it is or how much you played it?
Yes, but that game changes.
Ooh.
Yes, definitely. For the past 2 years, it's been NBA 2K.
Ah.
Strangely enough, and I have even in the past 6 months have begun to play the game in a brand new way that I didn't know existed. There are things that I can change about the players that I didn't know I could do. Like I can change people's ages and positions and not just their attributes and all that stuff. But before that, for like 4 years, or not 4 years, but before that, it was the Spider-Man game. When I couldn't go outside in New York, that allowed me to go outside in New York, which was
That's
nuts.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
That kept me sane. I was like, "Where are you, Major? I'm in Central Park today." Not in front of my TV again. Uh, but before that, often it was GTA.
Mm.
Um, you know, I, I, I needed sometimes I needed games that I could just, kind of kill time. Before GTA, it was Dynasty Warriors.
Oh, that's a classic series. I love that series.
Run, it's Lou Boo. so so yeah, there's always been something, and I would say it lasts for like a few years at a time. For a few years it was Assassin's Creed as well. So like Assassin's Creed was probably after my GTA time. um yeah, but nothing lasts forever though, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great. That's great. No, and it's good to have a good broad repertoire of games to come back to too, so that nothing feels stale. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. So this next question is interesting because we actually had two people ask a very similar question. So first, Brutax4226 wants to know, what's a voice job you regret doing, like knowing what you know now that you never would have taken it? And in the same vein, we had Dakota Parnes ask, have you ever had a gig somewhere where at some point you were just thought to yourself, what the heck am I doing here? Because things were, for lack of a better term, messy.
Okay, so the first one, if there's a something that I wish I wouldn't have taken, knowing what I know now, the I want to say the answer to that is no. The answer is not exactly. The answer is I probably wish I would have charged more
Mm,
than I did then, knowing what I know now. Not, there's no job that I can remember off the top of my head that I regretted actually doing. I probably regretted devaluing my skill set at any given time, because I do so many different things and I'm not at the same level in each one of those spaces. It's kind of hard to keep track
mm,
sometimes, whether, because if I'm doing something Broadway oriented, or anything that is musical theater, sing-songy, something like that, then that's elevated. But in the Twitch space, even in the voiceover space, I still feel like a novice in a sense. So I guess that's a lackluster but true answer to that question. The second one, what was the second?
second one was, is there ever been a time or a gig somewhere where at some point you were just like, what the heck am
Oh
I doing here?
yeah, that shit happens a lot. Um, there have been many places where I have accepted, you know, I've been gone somewhere to sing, or most of the times it's somewhere where I'm going to sing, and I'll get somewhere, and they're like, okay, this is where you're being held, this is where you're doing this, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Is it worth it?
Why
Is it
am I
really
doing
worth it?
this?
Why am I doing this? And then they hand me the check before I have to do anything, and then I remember, and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
oh,
okay.
right. They said they were gonna pay me when I got here. That's why.
Oh, that's why I took this job. Okay.
But no, yeah, that happens more often than not, and I think I'm okay with having that feeling because I choose to be adventurous.
Mm.
I choose to say, "Well, I've never sung at that type of thing. I've never done that type of thing, and even if it's terrible, maybe I'll just never do it again." But
Well, and that's
yeah,
good, right? I mean, that allows you to open yourself up to so many
right.
experiences that,
And
that a lot of
I
people probably
realize it.
wouldn't.
I realized like I don't want to be too specific either. Because like if I talk about, I was like, when I was at this one thing, it
Yeah.
was in this city. They would have been like, "You're talking about us." So,
Well, we'll never hire that guy again, I guess.
right. But
Whoops.
let's just say if I'm ever extra friendly at an event, where it doesn't, it feels a little like saccharine,
Mm.
then you probably Major's just trying to make it through. You know?
That's fair enough, man. That is
Doing all
fair enough.
right.
Well, I got a couple more questions, and these are questions that I like to ask all of our guests. We'll start with a fun one first. Major, if you were an ice cream, what ice cream would you be and why?
Oh my God. I would be an I oh, I would be an ice cream that I don't think is available anymore. And it is called the Gob Father. And
Oh,
it was a flavor by Ben and Jerry's. And if I remember correctly, it was chocolate ice cream with a nougat swirl and chocolate covered almonds.
oh
Like,
Lord,
yeah, I would be, if I was an ice cream, I would be that because I want to be rich and I want to be crunchy.
I love it. I
Yes.
absolutely love it. That is perfect. Perfection. And now I want to eat that ice cream. I don't even care where I have to find it. I
Oh,
will find it. That sounds
right.
amazing.
Oh,
That sounds amazing. All right. Well, and then the second question I ask, and this is something that I think you would probably have a very unique perspective on, is this idea of burnout. This is something that a lot of content creators struggle with, or even just people in general in their daily lives struggle with, but especially someone like you who has taken on so much and so many projects and everything. Has there ever been a time where you felt burnt out? And when you start to feel that way, what would be some advice that you could give to somebody who's kind of in that place of like, I just can't keep going with what I'm doing. I've overspent myself.
that's great. The first thing I would say is be gentle with yourself because these patterns are not always easy to recognize, you know. And I would say that the first step in the journey is to work on recognizing those types of patterns because I've burnt myself out before and you don't know till you're there until you're on E.
Mm.
And actually I'd be happy to share how burnt out I really was now that I now that I remember. So when I first got cast in Aladdin, my job was as the standby in
Mm-hmm.
the show. So I was the official backup for three people in the show. For the Sultan, for Babkak, which was one of Aladdin's good friends in the show, because they replaced the monkey with three friends so that, they didn't have to train a freaking monkey.
Smart,
Um,
smart move. Good move.
yeah, yeah. But I was the backup for that friend and for the genie. Now, less than a year goes by, and I haven't even lived in New York for a year. But now this man, the genie, is leaving his job and going to be in Hamilton on Broadway. So now it's my job. 11 months, and now I went. 12 months had passed, and before that, I was living in Texas, and now I'm taking this man's job. So the week that I take over the show, is my first. It's not my first time to do 8 shows, but it's my first time with all that pressure. You know,
Sure.
prior to me taking over the role, we do new photo shoots. They take me on the fucking View. Excuse me for cursing, but they take me
You can.
on. They take me on the View. I meet Whoopi Goldberg and all these people. Whoopi gives me gifts. Like she's like here. Like she comes to the theater and she's dressed in a genie outfit. She goes on stage. She does all this stuff. Afterward, she's like, I say, man, Whoopi, those shoes are amazing. And she's like, they're yours. And I was like, huh? You know, like, and she gives them to me on air, and I still have them, and yeah, all this stuff. But it's because I say all this because I just wanted to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Like a year and a half before that, I was doing community theater for no money
Wow.
for pennies, right? And now all of a sudden, all this pomp and circumstance and all the stakes have risen. You know, like now they're putting my face on buses. Like and all, I was like, what's happening? You know, all this stuff just for me to do the same job I was doing a year ago. But now all of a sudden, all these people care. So all that is rolled into me taking over for this man, right?
Mm.
So I do 8 shows, and then I'm out for a month because I was so dehydrated after doing that 1 week of shows because I never fully rested. I never could rehydrate myself. The pressure was so high. I was at the theater for a whole week, like without sleep and all this, just so that I could do my job. Burnout.
Yeah.
I
On
was in
a
the hospital,
on an
y'all.
extreme scale. Yeah.
On an extreme scale. Burnout. I had a cyst that had to be surgically removed based on what I had been doing and couldn't do my job for another month. A week after I had been given the best job of my life,
Oh my God. Oh
I
my
let
God.
it do too much. So I say, I sell that because, you may have to experience one before you start learning, but that's okay. Those patterns are really important, and don't be afraid to shut it off.
Mm.
You we're convinced by whomever, whatever, that rest is a burden,
Mm.
but it simply is not. There is night and there is day. Like you don't just get one the whole time. It's just nothing works without balance, and you have to have it. You have
Yeah.
to.
Well, and especially, you know, something you said really stood out to me there, like that we've been kind of conditioned to think that rest is a bad thing, or like the people that are successful
Don't rest.
don't rest ever.
That's not true.
And that's just so completely false. And I mean, I feel for you that you learned it in such a hard way, but like you said, I mean, you went from zero to hero in no time flat, to borrow the Disney pun. But
Yeah.
like that had to have just been absolutely insane for you mentally, like beyond just the physical, like going into that headspace. Like I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. That's incredible. But that's really solid advice, man. That's really solid advice. And what would you like if you could go back and talk to yourself in that instance, like beyond what you've just said about resting and everything, like what would you say to yourself, you think, if you could go back and just have a couple of minutes to tell yourself something, like before you were thrust into that limelight so quickly? Like, what is something you would say to yourself to kind of try to avoid that, or avoid the burnout part of it?
Don't let them raise your stakes, is what I would tell myself.
That's beautiful.
Well, and it's the reason I believe I got to do the job I did is because I stayed in Texas on purpose, man. I stayed when people would say to me, "Oh man, you should be on Broadway," or when they'd hear me sing somewhere locally, they were like, "Oh, you should, whatever current American Idol version was popular. You should go. You should do this. You should do that. You should bada bada." But I thought about the alternatives. I understood. I was like, I want to be so good at this that it's undeniable that they have to let me do it. I don't want to do what you just said, which is take a chance to see if whatever group of people is waiting up there thinks I'm good enough to allow me to do. No, I don't want to have to ask permission to be good at something. I want to be undeniably good at something, so they have to let me do it. And it worked because the first job they gave me in New York on Broadway was not in the back. The first, they were like, Major's here, put his face on the bus. I was like, I know what I did. I did it on purpose. So with the reason, and I believe that burnout, came when I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot that I am in complete control of what I am doing, and that I'm just managing everyone else's expectations around me. And so I would say to myself, do not let them raise your stakes. Your stakes are as high as they're ever going to be because you said back then that you want to be undeniable at this. So don't let them think that you have to, change everything about you. Like, yes, you have to adapt. Yes, you have to get, you have to be, efficiency is always going to be demanded of you, but don't change the stakes. Use the love, and the reason you do these things won't change. They can't make it more important because more people showed up.
That is beautiful, profound. I love that. I absolutely love that. Perfect. Perfect. Well, man, we are about out of time here for the show this evening. But before we wrap up, I want to do what I call the shameless plug portion of the show. Please, where can people in the audience go to find out more about you and to support what you're doing?
You beautiful people, you can find me at Major Attaway on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. You can find me as I Played Major here on Twitch and on Instagram as well. You can also follow one more channel of mine, Pixel Reboot. I've made a friend in the Twitch universe who has built a gaming truck that is the first of its kind in existence. It is entirely solar powered, and he drives the truck from Jersey to Manhattan and to, any other state that is willing. And we play video games in the middle of Times Square. And the idea is to bring streaming out to the masses. We all have to stream from our homes, but we want to wrap the truck in the newest game, and we want to play that game on the truck. We want to play it outside of Comic-Cons, anime cons, and all of that. So please follow that group. And we're also doing right now we're doing a giveaway. We're doing a $175 Steam gift card giveaway that is going until October 4th. And you can find the information on my page and on Twitter as well. Beautiful. I think that's it.
Perfect. And I will put links for all of that in the description down below. If you guys are checking this out on YouTube later or from your favorite podcasting site, I will make sure that it is in the description so that way you guys can go and check that out. Major, it has been an absolute honor and privilege to get to talk to you tonight, man. Thank you so much for coming by. This has been an absolute blast.
I appreciate you, man. Very glad to be here. Thank you, all you beautiful people, for hanging out with us. I love y'all so darn much.
Well, thank you, man. And it's now time to close the curtain on the temple, guys. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter for you guys to see who's coming up in the next episode of The Confessional, as well as to be sure to check out this show on YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcasts, everywhere where you find amazing content. The Confessional is there. And if you would like to support the show, be sure to check out that Patreon, patreon.com/theconfessional. Thank you again, Major, and everybody out there in the live audience. Thank you guys so much for being here. And don't forget, everyone, be excellent to each other. And we will see you guys next week. Take care, y'all.